I'm in shock. Michaels is a bloody mess. He's being helped out of the ring.
He's being dragged out of the ring.
And he's the winner. Shawn Michaels has defeated The Undertaker.
No, wait a minute. Kane has defeated The Undertaker. But in the record book, it'll have a victory from Michaels.
They're playing Shawn Michaels' music. His hand is raised in the air.
He doesn't know where he is.
Oh, he knows where he is. He's on top of the mountain, and he's going to the Survivor Series to meet the WWF champion.
Welcome to Last Match Standing, the podcast where we review, relive, and rank the 100 greatest wrestling matches of all time. As always, I'm Spencer.
I'm Be Broken in Half.
And I am in your house.
And today, episode 46, we are coming to you from October the 5th, 1997, St. Louis, Missouri, from the Kiel Center for Bad Blood in Your House, the first ever Hell in a Cell match between Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker.
You said the Kiel Center?
I did.
What's a Kiel?
It's a building in St. Louis.
Apparently.
There was a lot of jokes going in my head there, none of which were appropriate for this podcast, so I decided to opt out.
Well, you see, a keel is what Marty Jannetty did allegedly.
See, damn it, that's what I was going to say.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Anyway, welcome to episode 46.
Now that we got that joke out of the way.
Right, we had to make it.
You had to do it. You can't have a wrestling podcast.
Everybody gets one.
You see, a keel is the name of the tag team between Marty Jannetty and Jimmy Snuka.
Paul, we said
moving
one.
on.
We said one.
Okay, bye.
One.
Okay, I'm done. Welcome to this week's episode.
Yeah. So we are coming hot off of the heels of a
Off the keels.
Off the keels.
of
Okay.
a 4-match poll that saw all 4 matches make our list, last of which was Ishii and Shibata, which finished number 21 all time on our list thus far through the first 45 matches. And so it was time for a new poll. And we did something a little bit special with this poll here in Season 3. We made it a gimmick exclusive.
Oh, yeah.
And there were some awesome matches on this poll. But let me tell you something. You wouldn't have been able to tell from the results because
It's a landslide.
it was a landslide. Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, took it to the house.
Yeah, I can't believe that Zach Gowen's leg on a pole didn't win. But
Oh, yeah. No, somebody, I forgot who it was, like, oh, man, it's such a hard poll. And I said, oh, don't worry. These are all going to make it on the list eventually. For right now, we're going to do this one.
Yeah, so right now we get the first ever Hell in a Cell match. I was super, super excited to cover it. Before we jump into the match and everything around it, there was obviously a lot that went into it. I want to make sure that you guys know that you can reach out to us on Twitter, on Facebook at LastMatchCast. You can also email us at lastmatchstanding@gmail.com if you have any match suggestions, any thoughts on the episode, any opinions that you thought were different than ours. Feel free to share those with us. We would also appreciate if you rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, on Stitcher, on Spotify, on iHeart Radio Podcast, which is also where we're at.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it's not fun. So anywhere that you're listening to us, that would be super appreciated. And then also, don't forget that we just started releasing Welcome to the Elite on our Patreon page. So that is our second spinoff going along with Last Mania Standing. So there's a couple of spinoff shows that you can listen to if you are a patron, as well as our trivia episodes that always, and I mean always, go well for me.
yeah, every single time. You win every time, right?
It's incredible. I mean, you guys should be terrified.
So the fun part of the trivia stuff, which you only get to hear the trivia challenges if you're a patron, is the loser of the trivia challenge, the person who comes in last place, is subjected to a punishment, and a punishment that's voted on by the patrons.
I just love that we started doing the punishments after I lost, so I have yet to do one, and I'm going to eat those words eventually.
Right. I honestly think that we should retroactively go back and punish Paul for losing because I'm over it personally. But
It's okay. We have a really, really fun a punishment coming up for Spencer that you need to keep
I don't know.
your eyes
I feel like
peeled.
the last one is never going to be topped.
really, really fun. That's what they say. I don't know.
I thought the first one wasn't going to be topped, and then we did top it. And so
Right.
I don't think the second one can be topped, but we'll see.
I will also tell you guys listening that we do have a couple of really exciting projects coming your way, some of which have to do with Patreon, some of which do not. So it's going to be really, really fun. Super excited to share that stuff with you, and we'll obviously take to Twitter and obviously on the show to announce those things when they happen. But 1997, which is a year like 2016 that continues to make its appearance
Yes.
on our list. We are in St. Louis, Missouri for Bad Blood in Your House, a match that ultimately, and this is something that you probably don't think of too much while you're watching it, decides the number one contender for the WWF Championship, which
Which is odd because they never talk about that.
they don't really talk about it almost at all. Now, if you know what happens after Bad Blood in Your House, it makes a whole lot of sense because after Bad Blood 1997, you get Survivor Series 1997.
And
Yeah.
that's why this match is so important.
Right, because
Oh,
the
yeah.
winner goes to that.
Well, I mean, this match is built on The Undertaker is going to get his revenge.
So if The Undertaker would have won this match, are you saying that The Undertaker would have put Bret Hart in a sharpshooter in the middle of the ring?
Oh, no, they've already asked him. He said he wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, yeah.
He straight up said no. I would have said no.
That just does not surprise me in any way. But let's get to it. Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Hell in a Cell. Boys, how did we get here?
Well, folks, this one started over a chair shot. So Shawn Michaels was a special guest referee for the WWF Championship match between Bret Hart and The Undertaker at SummerSlam. An appointment which Bret Hart, real life, was pissed off about. He did not want Shawn involved in that match. So everyone was assuming that Shawn was going to call the match in The Undertaker's favor. He didn't. He called it right down the middle. He had to fight interference from the Hart Foundation and other stuff like that going on. And eventually, he got very, very heated over. He found a chair in the ring. And he goes, Bret Hart, what the fuck is this? And Bret Hart goes, fuck you, and spits a loogie in his face, like right in his face. So Shawn swings the chair as hard as he can, and he cracks The Undertaker in the face. The chair almost completely breaks off, and Undertaker is busted open and is unconscious.
So there's an interesting tidbit of information that adds a level of, paranoia to both Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels in this match, right? So there's a stipulation where if Shawn, as the referee, is not calling it right down the middle, if he's impartial in any way, then he would never wrestle in the United States again.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if Bret Hart lost, then that meant he could never wrestle in the United States again. So there's a lot going on right here.
Yeah. And it's no more evident than after Shawn realizes what he's done, Bret pins The Undertaker and I have to count this, and he does. He counts it, slow count, very deliberate. 1, 2, 3, rolls out of the ring, walks out.
Well, he had to count it. You could tell on his face he didn't want to, but he had to if he
no
wanted
choice.
to wrestle again.
Right.
Like he was back into a corner. If I do not count this fall, I'm essentially done. And we all know it's like kayfabe, but still, like, in the moment, you're like, oh, shit.
Well, yeah, and Taker's pissed.
Oh, I love this because, like, the last shot of SummerSlam is Taker covered in blood, like, stumbling to the back looking for Shawn Michaels. So, like, the next fucking night on Raw. So, naturally, you'd assume that Shawn come out, Undertaker, look, I'm sorry. It was an accident. No, fuck you. Smash him in the head of the chair, bust him open. I don't lay down for anybody, dead man. Like, immediately just goes full on heel. Fuck you. I meant to do that. I meant to hit you in the face. I hate you. Like, he just swings so hard into left field as a heel. Nobody's expecting it. So we go week to week. Every week, it seems, he is cracking Taker in the face with a chair and busting him open. So, all right, that's it. We got to have a match here. Ground zero, Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. Well, they have a pretty decent brawl going on.
This match is utter chaos.
It is,
at
be-
Ground
like,
Zero.
everybody-
I wouldn't call it a match.
the entire it's the debut of the crotch chop. That's one thing to note. But the entire fucking locker room descends on the ring. It's insane. The last shot is Undertaker diving over like 25 people like Shawn Michaels, and that's how they go off the air. And
Referees down. EMTs.
yeah. They go through 3 or 4 referees. They go through Shawn, China, the insurance policy, everybody. At one point, I'm pretty sure Jeff Jarrett's out there. It's insane. It's ridiculous. It's like, okay, well, it's mandated. Well, this isn't going to work. So the only way this can be contested is going to be in a cage. But a cage can't hold back all of the click. So we're going to put a roof on this cage. And Sergeant Slaughter says, we're going to have a Hell in the Cell match at Bad Blood in your house. Shawn Michaels, if you do not defend in this match, you will compete against The Undertaker. This is not for the European title.
Maggots.
Yeah, maggot. Attention.
If you could tweet us at Last Match Cast and let us know how you feel about Paul's Slaughter impersonation, you let us know.
I give it a 3. I don't know. It wasn't one of your best.
I know. And I realized as soon as I finished, like, oh, wait a minute. He's more like, attention, ultimate puke.
That's
Oh
better.
yeah, here we go.
That's better,
That
okay.
bumps it up.
Shawn Michaels, you will...
Yeah, do it again.
no.
The idea for Hell in the Cell, it's a combination of the old school style steel cage used in the Memphis territory wrestling promotions, which was actually encompassed the ringside area as opposed to was right up on it.
Yeah.
And a combination of that and War Games, which was literally a cage enclosed with a roof.
But the thing about the difference between this and War Games is War Games is tight to the ring, and the roof had very, very little clearance, as evidenced by the time that Sid almost killed Brian Pillman.
Yikes.
He goes to powerbomb, and then Brian hits the cage and then falls on his head.
Well, the thing about Hell in a Cell, right? Whereas a typical steel cage match used to be about escaping the cage, and dear God, I wish it still were.
Yeah.
Because those were the interesting steel cage matches. Like, why are you going for a pinfall in a steel cage? Okay. Anyway, the Cell was designed specifically to tell the story of locking 2 men in a cage together with no escape. This thing towers 16 feet high with a locked door. There's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to hide.
The funny part about that is that so many of the early Cell matches had things that happened outside of the
Yes,
Cell.
they did.
Which is kind of funny to that point. But I would like to go ahead and put my vote in for Hell in a Cell being the best named gimmick.
It's a great name.
I disagree only because they call it a Hell in the Cell match.
Not this. This is just called, this will be Hell in the Cell.
Yeah, I like that. But I want to wrestle you in a Hell in the Cell match. It doesn't make any sense.
It
Just
wasn't that until it became a recurring gimmick. I mean, I don't think they called it a Hell in the Cell match until like 2009.
Because it's a cell. Don't call it a Hell in the Cell. It doesn't make any damn sense.
Well,
it's a cell.
Well, the WWE is convinced that for branding, you have to say it by the full name every time. It's not a match between Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio. It's the Messiah Seth Rollins versus the Enigmatic. You know what I mean? Like, everybody has to have a nickname and a brand. Every match this is the tables, ladders, and chairs match.
But that's okay because there are tables, ladders, and chairs involved. But the name of the structure being Hell in the Cell, that's like saying my name is Landon.
Well,
no!
Well,
You don't
that's
name
like,
people that way.
Well, like I said, they
An
don't.
ATM machine.
Nobody has a name anymore. Everybody, like, you have to their full gimmick. It's not Brock Lesnar. It's the Beast Brock Lesnar. It's
Right.
the Messiah Seth Rollins. It's you know what I mean? Everybody, it's a branding thing that is overboard because we fucking know what their brand is. Stop saying it 30,000 times.
So to pivot on
Art.
a positive note, Hell in the Cell was brought in and booked to be the only way guys could settle a feud. And this is what I love about Hell in the Cell matches.
Well, that's why the first decade we had like 7 of them.
Yes. So, they have to have beaten the hell out of each other, and there's nowhere else to turn but a Hell in the Cell. If someone challenged you to a Hell in the Cell match, it meant somebody was walking out of that cage a definitive winner, but neither were walking out the same.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we now have an annual event that's relegated to a match that's mandatory box to check every year, and there's no impact on any storyline whatsoever. But
And
that was the original intention with Hell in the Cell, and they did so well with it for so long.
when you
You
think
forgot to mention that they have shitty booking the last 2 years as well.
Well, maybe, but there have been some sparks of brilliance here, right? You do get the New Day versus the Usos.
I thought you were about to say Seth Rollins versus The Fiend.
We're not going to talk about that.
but Becky Lynch and Sasha.
Oh, yeah, those were
Well,
great.
it was Sasha and Charlotte.
Yeah, well, yeah,
So,
they
so,
both
so
did.
good.
Both were really good cell matches. So there have been in this second half of the history of the Hell in the Cell match, right?
You know why those were good matches? Because they actually were settling a feud.
Right, they were rivalries. And so when you think about why we liked it so much in the beginning, it's because the matches there were Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, right? Those were guys who were settling a feud. Cactus Jack, Triple H, those guys were settling a feud. Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, like these were big moments in rivalries.
Triple H and Chris Jericho.
Exactly. So when you had a Hell in a Cell match come around, you knew it was a big deal.
Yeah, Undertaker, Big Boss Man. Oh, we were going to have to review that at some point. You know that, right?
I really hope so.
Coming up
15.
really close.
It is.
We got to talk about it.
Yeah.
But we're not here to discuss that match. We're here to discuss this match.
Yeah, so, Paul, kind of like you were saying, that the build from SummerSlam to Ground Zero was Undertaker getting his head bashed in with a chair.
Every single week he got busted open.
And then there's not a whole lot of build between Ground Zero and Bad Blood, and that's for a couple of reasons. One of them is that there wasn't a Monday Night Raw for a couple of weeks.
No,
because
they were,
of the U.S. Open tennis tournament.
Yeah,
was
that happened like every year for like the first I think 12 years of Raw. They'd have like 2 or 3 weeks with no Raw.
Yes.
They would do like Saturday nights Raw or whatever it was.
Friday night main event.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But the other reason why there wasn't a lot more build helping with it is because they also squeezed one night only in October.
Yeah.
Or I guess that was September. They did it in September before Bad Blood. And that's when Michaels, while he was rivaling with The Undertaker, sort of did a side rivalry with the British Bulldog for the European title.
Yeah, the most dark-sided show of all time.
What do you mean?
Well, Davey Boy was booked to retain the European title in Wembley Stadium, where he won it the first time. Like, here we were in Wembley, in 1992, he had the one of the best matches of all time. Now we're back, and Shawn beats him. Makes him pass out.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad you brought up the Wembley Stadium 1992 match because I recently went back and watched that match against Bret Hart. And
so good.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Good.
He wins the Intercontinental Championship in Wembley Stadium.
Yeah, and now we're back 5 years later.
That's one that it would surprise no one to be featured on an episode of ours.
So what I think is interesting, and the decision was made so they could get heat, but then Montreal happens and Davey Boy leaves the company. The plan was they were going to have a rematch in Manchester, and there is a show called Mayhem in Manchester, but it's fucking shit. No one's talking about it. The plan was rematch. Davey's going to win it because he's from Manchester. He's going to win it in Manchester, and it's going to be all's well. But like I said, Survivor Series happened. Davey Boy quits the company. And by the time you get to Manchester, Shawn needs his comeuppance. No, he's got a broken back, and he's going home. So Undertaker is going to wrestle in a bin bag.
I will say that with Shawn winning the European Championship, even though it has zero effect on this Hell in a Cell match, they have Shawn win, and he now is a Grand Slam champion. He's the first guy to hold all the belts at some point, right? And so that's kind of a big deal. And for Shawn being the heel that he is, the arrogant heel at this point, it's one more thing for him to really brag about, and for him to say, I shouldn't even have to have this match at all. I've won all the titles. I should be the next in line for the WWF Championship. And so it fuels his sort of side of things, which I think is okay. Did it need the European Championship? No. But I mean, it's the WWF. How often do they need to make title changes that they do? I don't know. It's just one of those things. But after Ground Zero, after one night only, there's only a couple of Raws in between that and Bad Blood. Ultimately, on the September 22nd edition of Raw is when Vince says that the match is going to be for the number one contendership. And then the go-home show for Bad Blood has a pretty good ending.
Oh, I love it.
It's a really good ending,
They
right?
beat down Taker and put him in a body bag.
They put him in a body bag, Johnny.
And he sits up, and Shawn's like, oh, no, and runs away, and Triple H just gets sacrificed to Taker.
It was a really fun way to end.
Oh, it's like, yeah, no, I love this because, like, leading up to, I think, Ground Zero, they're like, oh, there's a partnership between you and Triple H. No, Hunter Assembly's not my tag. I don't need a tag team partner. I'm by myself. Like, next week, and he's flanked by Triple H. It's like, you fucking dick. Admit it. He's your buddy. He's there to have your back, and you never have his.
Yeah, we are very, very close to the formation of DX officially. We're not there yet, but we're super close at this point.
They officially are called D-Generation X maybe, I think, 2 weeks after this.
Yeah, it's real
There's
soon.
a segment where Bret Hart goes, Shawn Michaels, you're nothing but a degenerate. And then Shawn looks at everybody and goes, you know what? Generation X has a bad name. If we're degenerate, Degeneration X. And then he just says it off the cuff, and like the next week it was a thing. Mm-hmm. I love how he just misspoke and said Degeneration X. I'm like, oh, huh.
It worked out for him.
Neither one of them are part of Gen X, by the way.
No, they're not. But as we get to Bad Blood, October the 5th, 1997, on commentary for the show is JR, Jerry the King Lawler, and for the last time on pay-per-view, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, which I think we will all be grateful. That
you don't like Vince's commentary?
No, it is well documented, and if you listen to Last Mania Standing, you know I can't deal with it. Then
we're done with it.
Yeah,
no more.
And the referee is Earl Hebner.
Final pay-per-view with Vince McMahon.
Yeah,
Hopefully the final match we'll have to talk about it.
The opening video package for the pay-per-view is an interesting one, and the video package that they showed before the match is interesting because it's Michael Cole who's making his way up the corporate ladder.
Oh, man. My favorite thing about this is, like, Shawn cuts a promo.
Oh, my God.
He is slurring his words.
He's got... Hey, now.
he was.
There's some good news and some bad news. The good news is this match is not for my coveted European Championship. He wipes his brow. I mean, what a fucking jerk, this guy.
Yeah. And then, what do you got to say, Triple H? What? The match between Undertaker and Shawn Michaels.
Cut him off.
Is it just me? Or does Triple H look just like Gangrel here?
He kind of does. I mean,
Oh,
put
for
the
sure.
fangs in, give him a bunch of tattoos,
He would
totally
be
the same
Gangrel.
person. Would be the same person.
and he can have his search.
Cole says something during the video package about Shawn that I thought was interesting, though. He says,
But for Shawn Michaels, image isn't everything. It's the only thing.
and it's a good way to describe his character at the time. But before the guys make their entrances out to the ring, Commissioner Slaughter and Earl Hebner go to the ring, and they pull up the apron and start looking under the ring with flashlights.
Oh, my God. When they does that, you can see the monitor they use for the ring mic.
Yeah.
Like, he shines a flashlight right at it with the cameras right behind him. Like, dude, don't show,
Right.
don't show that to the public.
They're looking for, the Shawntourage at this point.
Yeah, I love this because King goes, what's under that ring? And then Jared goes, oh, extra ropes, chairs, things like that. They're looking for see if there's a buddy or a friend under there. Or hopefully there isn't.
But Shawn comes down, Taker comes down. Shawn, of course, looks terrified that Hebner's going to lock the cell.
I love when Shawn's coming down. Vince goes, this might be the last time we see Shawn Michaels. I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. The last time.
Is that something Vince did every time Undertaker fought anybody?
Yeah.
Like
this
was
might be the last time. This is the most physically dominant we've ever seen the Undertaker. I'm like, you say that every match he has, Vince.
To be fair, Undertaker was booked like a monster coming into this.
He was. Like, nobody even laid a hand on him.
I know it's been said like 1,000 times, but Shawn Michaels is undoubtedly one of the greatest performers. Love him or hate him. Is he an asshole? Sure. One of the greatest performers in the history of professional wrestling. How he's portrayed,
Oh, yeah. He was nice when I met him. I worked on a movie with him. Nice guy.
Every movement he makes, inside and outside the ring, is deliberate. Every action he takes is telling the story of the match. The way he nervously approaches the ring, the way he pleads with Earl Hebner, don't lock the door. What are you doing? Don't lock the door.
Well, actually, one thing I love, it's actually right before the match starts, is We all know that Taker likes to have the lights come on, but normally he slowly raises his hands. This time he just puts his arms out and there's like a percussion goes off and then like boom, the lights are on. Yeah, he stopped doing that pretty soon after, but more about that later.
You don't see him do that often even after this. But
he stops doing it.
Yeah, he does. But
later.
I remember it reminds me of Royal Rumble when he had Kurt Angle in the ring. And he does it when he came out on the cart.
On the cart?
On the buggy. And he throws his... It's totally buggy. And he throws his...
It's not a damn buggy!
I'm calling it a buggy.
It's a cart.
How many times we got to say this?
I will go to my grave saying that he comes out...
The Undertaker will take you to your grave.
The Undertaker
if
comes
you say
out
it one more time.
in a buggy at the Rumble 2006.
No, the horse was drawing a cart, and he was in the cart, and there was a torch.
It's fine.
It is amazing.
But ultimately, he throws his hands up in the air. That's when the lightning strikes Kurt Angle, the whole thing. Right.
Collapses.
So that's what it makes
Can
me
you
think
imagine if he did that before this?
of. But both guys finally get
The
in.
very first image we get is Shawn Michaels running away and Taker just following him like Michael Myers.
It's a horror film. It's literally exactly what you said. He's
This
in there
truly
with a
is
monster.
Hell in a Cell.
It is.
Aha!
And it was a marketing ploy, but it's the story that they're telling.
I think my favorite line of commentary is whenever Jerry Lawler just says, it's kind of like, we're watching Undertaker take his time here. It's kind of like a funeral procession. Everyone's rushing. What's the hurry?
Right. Isn't that fun, though? And it begs the question, if the first ever Hell in a Cell match isn't this horror movie Undertaker-Shawn Michaels dynamic that they have, do we get another one?
I don't think so.
That's a good point. I mean, and even considering what happens later and the fact that it's about something more than just the match, it's, does that happen? If that doesn't happen, do we get another Hell in a Cell match?
Like I said, I don't think so. Like I don't think we get King of the Ring 98 without this. And I'm not saying it because it came first. I'm just saying if the first Hell in a Cell match had been like the tag team match between Mankind and Kane versus The Undertaker and Stone Cold, then there's no more Hell in a Cell matches.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really interesting point because The Undertaker, in the first 5 minutes of this match, that this structure belongs to him.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And this is pre him forcibly closing the door behind himself.
Yeah, and it's automatic. It's almost assumed after this match that the Hell in a Cell is his playground.
Well, some people would argue that cages, and since we're talking about, the fact that Hell in the Cell was successful, right? Cages can obstruct the view and detract from the match. It's an argument that can be said, okay? But I would like to argue that when the hard cam is on the Hell in the Cell, it actually looks decent. I think you can see straight through it. You can still see what's going on. I don't know about the guys in the nosebleeds, but at least on video, you can see what's going on. It actually adds this little bit of texture to the match that I really like.
I mean, I've seen multiple cage matches live from like various like areas of the arena. I've never had a problem following the action, and if I couldn't see very well, look at the fucking Tron. That's what it's there for. And sure, they may not have had that in 97, but like they have that in 2020. So if you're complaining about not being able to see a cage match, just stop complaining. Like it's wrestling. Just like watch the screen.
Well, Paul, that's a pretty big ask. People cannot, I think it's physically impossible for anyone, to watch professional wrestling and not complain. I'm not sure that's possible.
I know we always bring this up, but it's kind of like watching the Boneyard match. If you didn't like it, okay, don't watch it.
Look, no, okay.
Nobody's making you watch it.
I want to say there are legitimate concerns sometimes, right? Like even Randy Orton tweeted out about the fact that at WrestleMania, some people couldn't see because of the bright lights in your face. That happened to me at TakeOver New Orleans. I was trying to enjoy...
Yeah.
Well, that's different. That's not. There's a cage there. There's lights being shone in your face, and you paid like $200 to go to the show.
Yeah,
there's
but
a big
I think
difference
there's still people who legitimately can't see because of the cage. Maybe it's the angle that they're at.
Well, like I said, there's a fine line between the cage is obscuring my view, and they're shining a red light in my face.
Sure, yeah.
Big
So
difference.
obstructing the view doesn't bother me as much.
And
for me, it just adds a little bit of
They
texture.
even chanted, turn the lights off, and they did.
Ah, okay.
Because shit, like a third of the audience can't see, and they paid a lot of money, and they're gonna be really pissed off.
No, I didn't even notice that, Paul.
What?
Oh, you're talking about WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
You were
sure
talking about
did.
TakeOver.
I was talking. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was thinking you meant like they said, turn the lights off. We can't see inside the cell. No, yeah, they sure did. I completely forgot about that.
See, I think it's funny. We mentioned lights obscuring shows. Did you guys know that a year earlier, WCW did a 3-layered cage, but they did it on the ramp, not in the ring, and you couldn't see anything, so they turned the lights all the way up, which kind of killed the mystique of this 3-tiered cage.
3-tiered
Yes,
cage?
3-tiered cage.
Take me to this world. What are you talking about?
I am talking about Uncensored 96.
Okay, I hadn't made it there yet. I'm in
Yeah,
I'm in
it's the Dungeon of
1993
Doom.
on my walkthrough here.
It's
so.
the Dungeon of Doom versus Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage.
I'm sure it's great.
That sounds wonderful.
I will say no more.
Maybe that's episode 47.
Well,
That's going to be episode 47.
as ridiculous as that mess is, inside this cage is Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, and they just have ridiculous chemistry.
And it's from the jump. You know, we talked about obviously the character work that's going on with Taker stalking Shawn around the ring. But the second they get in the ring, you realize how well they mesh as wrestlers. It's a very fast start once they're physically in the ring. It's like Shawn tries to make, because he's the smaller guy, he's going to have to be quick. But Taker just boots him to the ground.
I love that because JR says he needs to get on a bicycle and ride, and then Vince was like, "Where's he gonna go? It's Hell in a Cell." It's just like you can't leave.
That's the point, though.
Yeah.
That's the story they're telling. I mean, Shawn tries to escape, right? He jumps up onto the cell at
He
one
tries
point.
he tries to climb, and Taker just pulls him down and almost pulls his
It's
pants
great.
down.
But Michaels gets in some offense, right? Michaels actually gets Taker into the corner and throws a series of punches. And Taker pushes out of the corner and just launches him across the ring to change the page. I mean, so smooth. The chemistry between these two guys, I've already said it, but I'll say it 100 times. So beautiful to watch.
Yeah, it's one of those that it feels like they were meant to wrestle each other.
Yeah, it really does.
You know, like it's almost automatic.
Their styles just complement each other so well. Like you have Taker, who's like the big, like lumbering, slow monster, but like when push comes to shove, he can move just as quickly as Shawn does, but he chooses not to because when he does, it means something. And you have Shawn, who is just this fucking like rubber band of just movement and flips. So when those two mix together, and it's funny because we're going to talk about them again, but like 20 years from this time, and I just think it's interesting, especially since they really had not worked together almost at all before this match.
That's true.
Which is super, super interesting. And
They did house shows, but that was it.
And we talk about how Undertaker's moves are deliberate. And when he takes back control over Shawn Michaels in the beginning of the match, he hits just big 6'10" guy moves, right? This guy that's physically dominating. He does old school. He does a big leg drop in the middle of the ring. And then he does a back body drop to Shawn.
Shawn's feet hit the roof of the cage.
Yeah.
The cage is deceptively shorter than you think it is.
Well,
Exactly.
you got to remember, like the ring is about 3.5, 4 feet off the ground, and the cage is 16 feet high. So if Undertaker is 6'10", let's just say 7 foot, if he's throwing Shawn over his shoulders, that's going to be another 3 or 4 feet. So now
Yeah, he's going to hit.
Oh, he did. He can't straighten his legs out.
The numbers don't lie.
No, they don't. And I've
After Shawn gets backdropped with his feet hitting the ceiling, he gets thrown to the outside. And what's really fun is he tries to climb up the cell inside, which is just something that you didn't expect because you have to remember this is the first time we're seeing a Hell in a Cell. So anything they do is new. It's not something that's reused at this point. And JR, it's just always good because when HBK gets tossed over the outside, he lands a nasty fall.
Yes,
nasty,
really
nasty fall. And JR says,
And there's probably some idiot sitting at home saying, yeah, but he knows how to fall.
and that's just one of my favorite JR lines ever. He
Hey,
gets so
learn to
pissed
fall off
off.
a 20-foot ladder.
You don't. Yeah, he says that a lot around this time, and he says that pretty much through 2002.
I need to know, is someone like sending him hate mail that says like, I know wrestling isn't real. These guys learn how to fall.
Oh, my God. Give me JR's email address. We're doing this.
Well, this is just JR's BBQ.
Probably.
It is, yeah. It is.
One of my favorite moments is just like Taker immediately starts using the cell as a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's just throwing Shawn into it, like torpedoing him into it, or my favorite moment where he picks up Shawn in a powerbomb position, and by the way, he power bombs him into the cell and into the ring post several times. There's 3. That counts as 1 powerbomb.
Well-
Okay, so let's clarify what we're considering as a powerbomb. Landon, what would you say here as a powerbomb?
I definitely see that he rams him into the corner, and I think, correct me if I'm
In
wrong,
a powerbomb position.
Michaels grabs onto the cell at that point,
So he can't
and
be
starts
powerbombed.
bashing Undertaker in the head while he's in the corner in the powerbomb position, mind you.
And then
so,
he gets
but you're
repeatedly
saying that the
powerbombed.
second that his back hit the cage, it was considered a powerbomb.
Well, if the buckle bomb is called a power bomb, then this is a corner bomb.
I think there is an argument for it. I'm not saying our listeners would agree.
Look, he does it 3 times. We haven't had a power bomb in like 3 matches. Give me this one.
We'll have a poll.
No. We won't. Executive decision. This is a power bomb. He does it 3 times.
The Undertaker, right after he finishes, quote unquote, the power bomb, right? He does one of my favorite things in wrestling. And you know how much I hate a barricade spot? That's how much I love in a cell when they go pillar to post.
Are you talking about the bear hug?
The bear, and listen, I hate a bear hug, but when he's got it and he tosses Shawn into the corner of the cell and then into the ring post and then back to the corner of the cell, then back to the ring post.
So you're saying when they do 2 things you hate together, it becomes something you really enjoy?
Yes.
A bear hug and a barricade spot.
Hey,
When you combine them together.
I was going to say a lot of kids are made that way, but I had to stop myself.
It's a bear hugcade spot.
No. Trademark it. You heard it here first.
Hashtag barricade.
That's good.
TM cha-ching.
Something that I think it really plays to kind of something that Landon said earlier about the pace, and this is something that I thought was super, super smart by JR to bring up. He mentions how Shawn has beaten bigger men before, like Diesel and Sid Vicious. And I think that really gives Shawn credit because he's getting tossed around like a ragdoll and he's getting beat up. But as he tries to pick the pace back up and try to regain control, it really lends some credibility to Shawn because he has beaten bigger guys before. And look, he's laid out the blueprint to do it.
And I think one of my favorite moments, and we've after the bear hugcade spot, Undertaker goes to throw a body blow, but like completely connects with it, and it's loud and you can tell. And then the next like 2 or 3 are like really soft and make no sound at all. I mean, he fucking hits him in the fucking ribs hard. It's loud.
Oh, well, Michaels tries to get in some offense, but he tosses Taker into the cage. Taker turns around and punches him in the mouth. It's like every time you think Shawn Michaels is going to have a little bit of energy.
Yeah, he just keeps shutting him down. And then Taker starts making mistakes. And that's whenever Shawn Michaels just really starts to get him.
Well, Michaels is able to get him thanks to the innovative offense, right? So there's one moment where he climbs the cage and he knows Taker is below him, so he just drops into the elbow position. It's pure genius.
Oh, yeah. Like little things like that, or there's like a moment where he's trying to pull Taker in the ring and Taker slingshots him, and then Shawn literally like jumps and then rolls to the other side of the ring. And I just sat here going like, you're going to do that again with Hulk Hogan, and we're going to like hate you for it. But right now, we love it.
Shawn Michaels does not like the cameraman being inside the cage.
No, it's no more evident than when he goes to very impressively pile drive Undertaker on the steps. Now, the reason why I say it's impressive is because Shawn Michaels is standing on like the top of the ring steps, and he picks up Undertaker from the ground into the pile driver position, and the referee trips. He just falls over. And when it comes back to him, you see Shawn go, get the fuck out of my face.
Yeah.
And he punches the camera like twice to get it away from him.
Well, you know what? You just brought up the referee. And let's take a second to talk about how great a job Earl Hebner does putting over this match.
But he trips.
He does really well.
He's pleading with Shawn to get rid of the chair or pleading with Taker to, hey, take it easy.
Well,
it's
you know,
so fun to just watch Hebner.
Well, Landon, as you know, a chair, that's what started it all. A chair. There's a point where, like, I like Vince, and sometimes I even like him on commentary, but in 97, he was really bad.
I think he does a good job, quite frankly.
Well, no, what I mean by that is matches like this, or we're about to watch WrestleMania 13, you're going to see why Vince is bad on commentary. It's like, if the point of a match is this one thing, he will beat that into your skull A chair is what started it all. That's right. Shawn Michaels hit Undertaker with a chair, and that's why we're here. Like, no, it's not why we're here. Like Vince, please, just go screw Brett so we can get you off commentary.
So keep in mind the pile driver from Shawn and the first tussle with the cameraman, right? Keep that in mind.
Yeah. He does like a fucking like top rope axe handle to the outside after that.
Yeah. And he finally gets Taker back into the ring, but then he does go grab a steel chair because, like you said, Paul,
that's what started it all. and then without missing a beat, Lawler just goes, Shawn Michaels is the chairman of the board. Ha ha.
Ugh.
I wish that joke. I think there should be a contractual obligation every single time a chair is used that joke has to be made. I think that needs to be necessary.
It was made a lot like early
Shawn
years.
Spears has made it his gimmick.
I know. I know.
Well, he's the chairman, not the chairman of the board.
He don't even use a fucking chair anymore, but he still calls himself the chairman. Okay, that's my one gripe.
Oh, I haven't seen his entrance like on television in a while, so I just don't think he does
He
that
sits
anymore.
down in the chair.
Yeah, but he doesn't do that anymore because he like is barely on television.
True.
So Shawn lays the chair over Undertaker's back twice, and then Taker gets his arms caught up in the ropes. And it looks like Shawn's about to just end it, right? He's about to just nail Taker with this chair, but instead he charges that Taker. He gets a big boot, and then he gets backdropped over the other side of the ring onto another cameraman.
Okay, so this is the big point of contention in the match. Shawn Michaels lands on the cameraman, and then he just proceeds to beat the shit out of him. And they're like, oh, God, oh man, there's going to be a lawsuit here. And then Vince, very, very drone, we would like to apologize to the family of that cameraman. He's not a professional athlete. He's not a professional wrestler. I mean, he is. He's not a member of our roster, and Shawn Michaels should not have attacked him.
So yeah, I think it must have been some kind of local wrestler guy that they just put in for this spot.
Well, it's funny you mention that because you're absolutely correct, but that information has only really come out in the last couple of years. Like you couldn't find it. You could find Reddit posts going, was it a shoot or was it a work? I'm like, it's obviously a fucking work. It's wrestling.
Well, that was the thing about Shawn Michaels is his heat backstage and the way that people perceived Michaels was this totally could have been him.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a year earlier, he got pissed off at Vader in the middle of the match and started stomping him in the face because he like blew a spot. So it would not surprise me if Shawn was like, you fucking dick, you're in my way. Stomp him on the head. Because he stomps him on the head like 4 times.
Hard.
It's kind of scary, actually. But that's how we get out of the cell. So you have to ask, as a shooter, does it work? Honestly, it's probably the best thing they could have done to have gotten out of the ring.
Yeah, so there's no way they get out of the ring without this. So it must be a work, but it looks damn good.
It's a very convincing work.
And by God, thank God they did.
What I love about this is Shawn is desperately trying to run away. He gets slingshotted into that cell wall, and fuck me, the amount of blood coming out of that man's forehead. Like, immediately, he is gushing blood.
Gershing.
This is like Triple H at SummerSlam.
Gurrshih. I can't spell.
This is SummerSlam 2002 levels of blood coming out of his forehead.
This is Dustin Rhodes versus Cody level of blood.
This is Eddie Guerrero. Oh shit! I think I nicked an artery levels of blood.
This is John Cena. Was that Unforgiven?
Oh god, it's
level of
JBL
blood.
where he's like completely covered in blood, and then he gets torpedoed into the cell again by the Undertaker. And his idea of I need to get to safety, I better climb the top of the cell. It's safe up there.
Yeah, and so one of the things I want to talk about, if we're talking about blood, we're talking about being on top of the cell. The camera work in this match is unbelievable. There is one moment where the camera is directly underneath the guys whenever they're on the roof. And so drops of blood get onto the lens of the camera, and you hear the cameraman say, "Oh shit."
I love this because earlier in the match when Shawn told the cameraman, get the fuck out of here. Get the shit away from me. That's beeped. This, shit is just left in. I'm like, why would you not cut that out? Oh, man. But Shawn, he goes for a pile driver and gets backdropped on top of the cell. And after seeing the King of the Ring 98 cell match, I'm like, oh, nothing happens. Then Taker picks him up for a scoop slam, holds him up for a good 2 seconds, slams him down. Nothing happens. Oh. Then Shawn tries to climb off the side of the cell.
Bad move. Real bad move.
Is it wrong that when I was watching this, the first thing that popped in my head was the Lion King? When he stomps his hand, I just thought...
Long live the king.
Long live the king. And then he falls off to the table.
That was a pretty good scar.
So, yeah, he just falls off the cell and smashes the table, and we get the very famous...
My God, he may be broken in half.
Yeah, it sounds a little familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah, because a year later, we hear that again. But I just love that. Like that's from this match. What I love most about this match is as soon as Taker gets down, he immediately throws Shawn onto another announce table. And then he scoop slams him onto the destroyed table. I'm like, dude, stop it. He's already dead. He's bleeding. He's been knocked off the side of the cage and he's gone through a fucking table. Stop it. Please.
Yeah, we're 25 minutes in now to this match, and so much has happened. Michaels crawls his way back towards the front door to get back into the ring, and that's when JR says,
Michaels back into purgatory. Michaels is going to walk through hell, maybe for the last time.
So good.
Oh, and we get what I have dubbed the super duper choke slam.
super.
Oh,
Duper.
So Shawn Michaels is perched on the top rope. Undertaker climbs into the second rope, and he goes to choke slam, but he jumps and then turns around in midair and choke slams Shawn right in the middle of the ring. And I'm like, that's fucking awesome. How did he pull that off? Oh, he grabbed the roof of the cell to assist him in the turn. And I'm like, oh, there you go. Because if Taker standing on top of the fucking turnbuckle is like having to hunch down to fit in the cage. It's no wonder that in 2006 they doubled the size of these cages. And then Taker grabs a chair of his own. He cracks Shawn in the face, and that chair contorts. You can see the imprint of Shawn's face in it.
That was the definition of an unprotected chair shot.
Shawn's hands are by his waist when he gets hit with his chair. And then he hits the mat, and he's like stiff as a board, covered in blood. And then Undertaker, he's...
Now will come the tombstone. No. Oh my God, wait a minute. It's Paul Bear. It's Paul Bear. And that's gotta be Kane. That's gotta be Kane. Paul Bear and Kane through hellfire and brimstone.
Did you know that Kane ripping off the door to the cell is a borrowed idea from Jerry Jarrett? It was done in an old cage match back in 1986. And Jim Cornette was just like, oh my God, there was this awesome cage match where Doug Furnace would come out and he ripped the door off the cage and go in, and it went in. And
you know that Doug Furnace, like shoot in real life, was one of the strongest men that ever competed in wrestling.
Exactly.
Right?
And so they wanted to get across that Kane was this monster strong. And so they were just like, what's the best way to get him over?
Rip the door off.
Let's carry this idea over. And thank God they did, because holy
Makes a
shit.
big
what I love
impact.
about that is
You see Kane
like-
rip that door off.
well, like look at him. Like Glenn Jacobs shoot is one of the strongest men of all time in that business. They have done more to downplay how strong Glenn Jacobs was. It's weird because let's make him look really strong and then just never make him do feats of strength ever again. I'm talking like Braun Strowman levels of like strength feats. He could do it. They just never made him do it, which makes no sense to me. Probably because they signed Mark Henry and we don't want to make somebody look stronger than Mark Henry.
That makes sense.
So it's an iconic shot. It's an iconic moment. The whole walk down, and then the mayor of Knox County picks up the Undertaker, looks for the hard camera, and then pile drives Taker into the mat.
They don't even use the hard camera shot for it, but I love it because he turns around and Taker's like, no, turn back around. Glenn, you got to get the hard camera. But no, I love is because when he's looking up, like, Undertaker looks like he's seen a ghost. He's looking into the eyes of that giant that stands before him. Is that a human being? Look at the size of him. I love that. Is that a human being? He's as big as the Undertaker. No, he's bigger than the Undertaker. And then Shawn slithers over like the corpse of a drowned pig and barely covers Undertaker.
Wait, what did you just say? What? Can you take that back a little bit?
I'll repeat myself. Then Shawn Michaels barely slithers over like the corpse of a drowned pig. And ever so slightly, I mean, like he's got 2 fingers on the Undertaker, and Earl Hebner crawls back in the ring. And I'm talking the slowest. 1, 2, 3. Please ring the bell. I want to go home.
If Shawn Michaels crawled over to the Undertaker like the corpse of a drowned pig, how did Earl Hebner crawl back in?
Earl Hebner crawls in like a beached dolphin, desperately trying to reach that pool of blood that Shawn was laying in.
That's quite the image.
Oh, by the way, Shawn Michaels wins.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels wins the first ever Hell in a Cell match with an assist from Kane.
Yeah. No, I love that. He's like, Shawn Michaels defeated Undertaker. No. Kane defeated the Undertaker, but the match book is going to say that Shawn Michaels defeated the Undertaker. So Shawn Michaels survives, but only because Kane decided that now was the time to show himself. We have been getting threats of Kane for months now.
Yeah.
I think the go-home show to Ground Zero, there's a promo where Undertaker's in the ring, T-shirt. He's got a big bandage over his forehead. He's like, look, I'm not coming out here to tell you how mad I am or how bad I am because I've been doing too much talking and not enough walking. And then Shawn Michaels, you are going to pay for your crimes. You will pay for your transgressions. And then he gets cut off. Well, dead man. Speaking of paying for crimes, you're the murderer. You're the one that burned the funeral home to the ground. You got nothing to say, do you? You looking good. You lost a little bit of weight, haven't you, dead man? That's right. Go ahead. Make fun of me. Laugh at the fat guy. But I'll be laughing all the way to the bank. Because Kane's coming. Your brother's coming, Undertaker. You are going to burn in hell.
I would like to note 2 things here. 1, Paul has that not written down or typed anywhere. He just knows it.
It's all memorized.
2, we gotta record some of these on video and show them because
oh my God.
They're a thing of beauty.
Oh,
to watch.
Every promo he cut was fucking amazing. It's just Bearer like shifted away from being, oh my Undertaker, you're gonna burn in hell.
Well, this is a totally different Paul Bearer we get here.
He had a fireball thrown in his face.
Yeah.
And then when he came back, like it was slow. Like he would come back, a little bit more of his face was exposed. And so they did it as an excuse to stop putting him. He stopped dyeing his hair. He let his natural red hair grow. And they stopped putting the makeup on him. And his natural kind of pockmarked face, it looked like he had survived a burn. He looked different. Like he shaved his eyebrows off. He would come in clean shaven. When he did grow facial hair, it was intentionally cut patchy. So he looked like his face had legitimately been burned. And it was effective because he looked like a different human being. And then he goes away and comes back in 99, jet black hair and a giant mustache, and looks like a different person again.
That's really interesting. Because when you think of Paul Bearer, you think of the heavy caked on makeup. You think of the dark black hair and the big mortuary owner,
the dark eye circles.
Right, but he plays a really interesting character when he's not that way.
You know who he looks like? He looks like Harry Potter's uncle.
Oh God,
Drewsley. What's his first name?
You're asking
you are asking the wrong people.
I don't know. He looks like Uncle Drewsley. He does. And
Dursley?
Drewsley.
We're gonna get.
Look,
shamed.
I haven't read Harry Potter books since the 90s. It's been at least a decade since I've seen one of the films, but he looks like Harry Potter's uncle, and I just see him like shouting at him like, "You're not a wizard. You're not going to school.
I would apologize for this if I thought J.K. Rowling was a better person.
You're not going to Hogwarts, Harry! You're gonna live under the stairs until you die! Your parents died in a car crash, Harry!
There's no post on Sunday, Harry.
Uncle, can I go to Hogwarts?
No! You can burn in hell! Oh, see, this is why I love doing a podcast. We can do shit like that,
boy.
and nobody can do anything about it because it's free. So let's talk about our favorite moments.
Favorite moments.
My favorite moment was when Paul turned Paul Bearer into Harry Potter's uncle.
No, favorite moments in the match. My
Can't go to Hogwarts. You gotta burn it.
Okay, so my favorite moment in the match is probably whenever Shawn climbs the cage and does the elbow drop.
Give me Jim Cornette as Dobby.
I just gave you a sock.
Oh, no, I can't. No. I almost went really dark there for a second.
Do it. We'll cut it.
Oh, I have to find that kind of whiny voice like that. Joey Janela, you had sex with my wife. You can now be booked solidly. So my favorite moment of the match is probably whenever Shawn's kind of like flurry of moves. He climbs the top of the cell and does the elbow drop. When he does the stairs and uses the pile driver, the top roof hijinks, like being slammed on it, being thrown off the side, and of course Kane's debut. It's big shit. It's good shit. It never been done before.
That's good shit.
Well, it's never been done before, and it's often imitated, but has never been duplicated.
I will now assume every time Jim Cornette gets fired that he says Dobby is a free elf after that.
I'm still on.
This is like the best episode we've
That was
done.
really funny. Okay, my favorite moment of the match, I did love the elbow off of the cell. I thought that was really, really good. The tope, all of the work outside of the cell, I thought was really good. But how can you pick anything other than the finish?
Nah, the first time I watched the match, like 15 years ago maybe, I didn't realize what happened. Kane comes out and pile drives him, and all of a sudden the bell rings. What? Shawn won? What? How? I'm like, and you see him like he has to be carried out by Chyna and Triple H. Like he cannot stand up. Like they're carrying him out, and his blood is getting onto them.
Isn't that interesting? Because I feel like that's a character that Triple H plays so often in the early 2000s, 2005 or so, when he's the guy with Evolution specifically, when he got beat to a bloody pulp, had no business winning the match, but does, and has to be carried out.
Batista and Randy Orton are carrying him out like, he's the greatest of all time. Like, dude, he's dead. Get him some plasma.
Right. So it was interesting comparing those two.
But I mean, Triple H basically played that role until Shawn left after WrestleMania like that. He was Shawn's, he was his running boy. He took the beatings for him. He carried him out. He talked a big game. But at the end of the day, like Shawn had become this character that could not deliver unless he had interference. And I thought that was actually that's probably the smartest way to end this match. Because if you just had Taker beat him, all right, great. Or if Shawn miraculously defeats him, like it's not as effective as...
Well, it doesn't help sell him as a heel.
No, it doesn't. That's why you need Kane debuting to come back. Everything about... The more I'm thinking about it, the more like this match is just like... is booked perfectly. It really is. Because you have the hijinks with the cameraman where you're questioning, is this a shoot or is it a work? I don't care. Shawn just got thrown off the side of the cell and he's gone through a table. Back in the ring, what's going to happen now? Kane comes out. Who is this? Is this Kane? I don't know. He just attacked the Undertaker and, oh shit, Shawn won the match. What? You're...
What they didn't do is book themselves into a corner. Instead, they booked themselves into a space where they had all sorts of options, where Shawn can take momentum from and he can really brag about getting the cheap win.
He bragged. The next night, I defeated the Undertaker. Because Taker wasn't there the next night.
And then you've got an automatic set-in feud with Kane and Taker. So it really made sense. It
gives Shawn an excuse to gloat. It gives Taker opponent, and you get out of this whole... By the way, this is also for the number one contendership, which is never once a factor in this match. I think they just said that because they hadn't quite decided what they were going to do yet.
Yeah. Landon, your favorite moments?
Really, every time Shawn Michaels made a unique decision, he was like,
Yeah.
he was literally in that cage, and he said, "We are in a very unique style match. This is the first time anyone's been in a situation like this. Let's do something no one's done before." And so every time he was so quick on his feet to figure out something like that. So the elbow drop,
climbing the side of the cage,
climbing the side of the cage, and then dropping off her elbow.
Or
drop.
well, he does like a accent off the top of the cell, but he like grabs the roof of the cage and kind of like hoists himself and drops down because
So
he
good.
can't jump. So
Or whenever he's going up for the power bomb, but instead of getting power bombed, he grabs onto the cell and uses it to trap Undertaker in the corner. It's just these little innovations that he's able to do thanks to the cell.
And
Well,
then
you
Taker
said-
innovates by powerbombing him into the cell.
Well, you say innovation. When people think of Shawn Michaels as an innovation, they think of him innovating the ladder match at WrestleMania 10.
Well,
so how
I
I realize that that wasn't the first ladder match and stuff, but he gets a lot of credit for it. So it speaks to him having a big role in developing that gimmick
It does.
and the Hell in a Cell gimmick, which I think speaks to his personality and his creativity.
But it's
in
not
the ring.
not just those two matches. He had the first ever Iron Man match at WWF. He had the first ever
Yeah.
Elimination Chamber match. He is like the guinea pig, so to speak. Like he's like every time they have like a new match stipulation in his day, he is probably one of the most reliable people as far as like getting a good show out of. He may not have been the most reliable person, like personally, especially in '97. But as far as like, if you put Shawn in this match, he's going to do something exciting and people are going to remember it. So that's like one of the main takeaways you have to have with him. So whether you like the guy or not, like he consistently put out good matches. And when it came to crazy gimmicks, once again, he always innovated. So you can't really sit there and have the conversation whether or not he is the greatest of all time. I don't think he is the greatest of all time, but I definitely think he's on that. He belongs on that list, if nothing else, for his consistency in the ring and his innovation skills. Whether or not you like him as a person is beside the point. Personally, over the years, I've kind of grown to dislike him personally, but I like his matches, so it is what it is.
Well, where does it go on this list?
Okay, so I'm so happy you asked because I took a page out of your book. Last time, you specifically sat down and said, look, guys, I have done this before I got here. I have an exact idea of what I wanted. And I'm going to tell you why before I tell you that number. So this match it's a great match, which doesn't need to be said. It would not be on this list if it was not a great match. This is also a very historic debut. And this match was a bloodbath, but not in the traditional sense. And one man was covered in his own blood. But this match showcases The Undertaker as this unstoppable monster that Shawn Michaels cannot possibly overcome. But Shawn Michaels is such a resilient competitor and may not have been the way he wanted to, but he did overcome it against all odds. This is a match, it was the first ever, this is a historic match. First time I've ever done this, and this match has been imitated for 22 years. But I think maybe only one or two matches ever gotten close, and those are the matches that did not imitate it. So this is the match that everyone has tried to top, but they can't. And it's not just because of the exciting moments. It's because of just the booking of the match, the story they're telling, the deliberate pace, as you said before, the innovation by both men, the choices they made. I feel like this match, even if it's not the greatest match we've ever done, which it's not, I feel like the most logical place to put this match would be at number 32.
Interesting.
I would put it right behind Daniel Bryan and Triple H because as great as this match is, it does not quite hit the drama or the importance of that match between Daniel Bryan and Triple H.
Paul, this has happened before, but that is exactly where I put it.
Wow,
I put
okay.
it exactly at 32.
Okay.
And it's because what I like to do sometimes is I like to look, if I can't find a good place to start,
I'll start at the
because I
bottom.
do feel like this is such a unique match, it's really tough for me to pick another match on our list to compare it to. So I think, what are our threshold matches, right?
I legitimately started at the bottom and just
The
worked my
bottom
way
is
up.
TLC. It's better than TLC. Come on. 40. Gail Kim versus Awesome Kong. This did so much more than that match did for me. And so the next one up, if you look at the top 30 threshold, that's Cactus Jack versus Triple H. And there is just so much to unpack with that one.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I can't. That was my, all right, I'm not putting it above that, so let's go down. I went down, and I'm like, ooh, I cannot put this above Daniel Bryan Triple H. So I'm like, okay, let's go underneath it. The next match, as I recall, was Awesome and Tanaka. I'm like,
The next match is Royal Rumble. So
Royal
32
Rumble.
is Royal Rumble 1992, and I feel like it's just more digestible than that.
it is. It's half the length, and there's only 2 men. So I'm glad you mentioned Royal Rumble, Landon, because Shawn Michaels and Undertaker are both featured prominently in the Royal Rumble. Therefore, the numbers don't lie. 1992-97 is 5-year difference. This match can be watched. It can't be watched 5 times, but it can be watched twice. So 5 plus 2 is 7. 1997, Shawn is a 7-time champion. The numbers do not lie.
Okay, it's my turn.
Okay, let's do this.
So you both went 32. I did not go 32.
Okay.
This, like Landon said, is a very unique match, and it's hard to find one that really compares. We don't have a lot of big debuts on the list, and Kane is not part of this match, and so that's important. He is a big part of it, but he is not in it, so to
Yeah,
speak.
it'd be one thing if it was like, my tag team partner is a mystery, and then the mystery partner shows up at the last second.
Right, but it is the first Hell in a Cell match. It's between 2 of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
And we're definitely going to see these 2 face each other again on this list.
I can't imagine when.
neither.
But there's a lot going for it. And there really is. I think there's a whole lot going for it for those reasons that I said. I would put it above Daniel Bryan Triple H. And I think I would put it above Cactus Jack Triple H. I would go up personally. I would probably go until I'd put it in between Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho and Shawn Michaels. I'd put it at 20. I'd put it at 24.
Okay. Whoa.
That's a big jump.
That's a very big jump.
And
okay.
so let me walk with you there.
Yes.
Because I understand we need to come up with a compromise. And I'm willing to do a little bit of work to do that. I'm willing to say I would make this a new threshold match because I understand how important it is. I understand that people think about this match whenever they think about what are some of the greatest matches of all time. But for me, the spectacle that happened during Jushin Thunder Liger versus the Great Muta was just, I don't know. I would rewatch that match before I rewatch this one. And maybe that's personal preference, but I would, my counter argument is 30. And I know that that's not a big jump, and yours is way higher than 30, but that's my
Well,
counter.
when you go Jushin Thunder Liger and Muta, yes, it's a spectacle. This match is also a spectacle, right?
Yeah.
It's between 2 big characters, similarly. But I can't tell you what happens before or after
That's a good point.
Liger and Muta. I can't tell you. They're great characters. They have great matches their whole career, and it's a great rivalry. But I can't tell you what happens before or after. Michaels, Undertaker-Badd Blood, there's a lot that happens after, but as a result of this match. We have another Hall of Fame career out of Kane. We have the screw job a month later. We have a Shawn Michaels character that is really about to be the biggest heel in the company if he wasn't already.
Like I said before, like this is, I believe like the term D-Generation X literally comes within the next 2 weeks on Raw.
Right. So, I mean, to your point, I do feel like it's a personal preference thing. And so that's kind of hard. This is where we have to go down and really get to the nitty-gritty here. And I don't know. Paul, how do you feel? Because I ultimately think that this match comes down to 2 questions. One, is it better than Liger Muta? 2, is it better than Cactus Jack Triple H?
You know what? I think it is.
So here's the thing. If I look at this match from 2020 eyes, when I've seen 100 Hell in a Cells after, it's not as amazing. But when I watch it from the perspective of 1997, when it's the first one I've ever seen,
It's groundbreaking.
it's groundbreaking and it's mind-blowing.
I don't know. I think this match is exciting, even by 2020 standards, because you don't know what's going to happen. I feel like this is one of those matches where if you've never seen it and aren't aware of the time, you have no idea what's going to happen. The first time I watched this match was in 2008. I had no fucking idea that King was going to come out and rip the door off the cell. I was like, whenever I heard the organ music, I was on the edge of my seat. I was like, what? Because Kane was such a non-factor going into this match. Yes, Paul Bearer had been threatening he was going to show up, but he had not been on TV for like a month. So when he comes out, you are legitimately shocked unless you knew he was going to be there.
And some of our favorite moments in the history of the wrestling business are the moments when we are surprised. Because and especially now, because those moments are harder and harder to come by. So it's a special moment for that reason. But it has made me think that we are making a list of the 100 greatest wrestling matches of all time and not necessarily the moments that made us shocked.
Correct.
True. It's very, very true.
So with that spirit in mind, I will concede some. And I think we should probably decide somewhere between 30, 31, and 32. I don't really want to go higher than that, I think.
Well, we were talking about possibly going to 29. Is that not something you were interested in?
Yeah, I would give you 30.
30?
If Paul is willing to go 29 and y'all want to outvote me, then that's fine. I would go 30.
30?
That was
Okay.
my original counter.
Spencer, what do you
Because
think?
at the end of the day, I think that Muta and Liger just put on a better performance, and that's a personal
That's fair.
that's a personal preference. And so I would love to have all of the hate mail come at me about that. But
It's about time
that's
somebody
where I
else
am.
gets it.
That's where I
Yeah,
am.
well, okay, so I personally think Michaels and Taker did, but I think they're very different.
They're
And-
two very different matches.
And I think that it speaks to just our personal preferences, which is totally fine. I'll do 30.
30?
I'll go
Okay.
behind Liger.
Then
and
it's
Muta.
settled.
I'm okay with that.
in the spirit of Mick Foley, and that's final.
And you know what? At the end of this season, there is going to be a totally new listener poll, and we will see what the listeners think and what their
Yeah.
list looks like, and we'll compare it to ours.
I
So,
feel
so
like,
who knows? Maybe this won't be 30 after
True.
all.
Yeah.
I feel like the end of season 3 is going to be like the biggest, because now we're starting to get in some of these matches that are like, oh man, it is like literally pulling teeth. Like which one is better? When we get the listener submitted lists back, I think we're going to see. I think some matches, or we're going to be like, oh no, they agreed, we were right, or it's like maybe 1 or 2 points. I think this might be one of those, oh no, fuck you, this is like number 10. I'm like, I don't know about that, but we're going to see, I think, some really interesting feedback, and I am very, very much looking forward to that.
I know generally we talk about how difficult it gets the harder we go along, but I think season 3, in the 6 matches we've done, it has been exponentially more difficult than season 1 or 2. Every time. Every single match we've done has been exponentially harder, and it's because we have more to work with.
Well, we have to split hairs now. It's not just I love this match. It's like, but why? Why is this one better than this one? Why is it not as good as this one? Like, we are literally having to split hairs. And
Imagine what we're going to have to do with episode like 95, 96, 97.
oh yeah, when we have to compare it to 94 other matches, that's going to be a hell of a. Unless we wait and do all like these are going to be the top 5 until the last 5 episodes.
And then what makes this harder, but also I think more valid, is that the 3 of us have very different personal preferences
We do.
in terms of wrestling. We like different things. We like a lot of the same things, but we like a lot of different things too. And I think that it lends itself to interesting debate like we've had, but also to some really tough choices. So I'm curious, as we move towards episode 50 and the rest of season 3, how that's going to shape the list moving forward. But I don't know what's next.
I don't either.
I'm excited. I can't wait to find out. Listeners, you guys have done some great voting on these polls. If you have some matches that haven't made a poll yet that you think should be on one, let us know. We'd be happy to throw it on there for you. You can reach us at LastMatchCast on Twitter or Facebook, or you can email us at lastmatchstanding@gmail.com. So until episode 47, I'm Spencer.
I'm Paul.
I'm Landon.
And this is Last Match Standing.